What is up, guys? This is just going to be a quick video on how to set up the Butter Aim, the new version of Butter Aim. If you don't have Butter Aim and you're seeing this video, you can buy it in the Discord server, make a ticket, and once you buy it, we'll give you a folder like this that's generated for you. Anyways, this is how you set it up. So the very first thing is you're going to open the folder that you get, make sure it's unextracted. You're going to see a bunch of stuff here. We're just going to go into the install this first folder. You'll see this one right here. Open this in add to path.exe. We're going to open it. We're going to see add python.exe to path. You're going to press that button and you're going to press install now. I already done that, so I don't need to do it. But once you have done that, you're going to have to run this. So after we installed this, we're going to run this after you open the first exe. Once you open it, it will install all the requirements that it needs. It might take a minute, but it will do all that. After you're done that, you're going to go to hide normal. This is what hides your mouse. So what you're going to do to hide your mouse is you're going to go to hide normal.py. You'll see a bunch of options. So, okay, sorry about that cut off, but what we're going to do is we're going to open hide.normal. You'll see two options here. You can spoof or unspoof. If your mouse is already, if your Arduino has already been spoofed before by a different provider or by us, you can press 2 and then enter, and it will unspoof your Arduino. It will give you a little bit of instructions, but it's really simple. In this video, we're going to be going over spoofing it because I've already I have never spoofed this one before, so let's just get right into it. So first thing we're going to do is press 1 and enter. That's the spoof. It's going to ask you, do you want to use a normal or alternate? Normal is for mouses that use a certain firmware, and then alternates for another type of firmware. Most Logitech mouses need alternate, but there's some that don't need alternate. And most basic mouses, like Glorious mouses, need normal. So you might have to mess around with this for a little bit. You'll know if it doesn't work because when you plug your mouse into the USB host shield, it'll like be buggy and like bugged out and stuff. But it will be one of these two, and I will be adding more in the future, but as of right now, it's only these two. So just keep that in mind. What we're going to be doing in my case is I have a Glorious model, so what we're going to do 1 for normal spoof, and you literally just have to sit back and do nothing, and it will do everything for you. So we just got to wait for it to actually spoof the mouse. This does hide COM port. This will change your power consumption of your mouse to be the same as your Arduino, or sorry, it will change the Arduino's power consumption to be as your mouse. You might get a pop-up saying, do you want to let this app apply changes to your device? You're just going to press yes both times. And now you'll get this. So you may have a lot of these. Like this is all your mouse devices, and sometimes your keyboard and stuff like that identifies as mouses for some reason. It's really weird. But this is how we get the correct mouse. So I only have one, obviously, but other people might have more. So to get the correct mouse, you're going to click on any of these. So you're going to go here. You might see 1 or 2 or 3. You're just going to click on the first one. Go to Properties. And you'll see right here it says this device is working properly. We're just going to unplug our mouse. That's all we're going to do. And as you can see, it switches to an error code, like a code 45. So that means that that is my correct mouse. You're just going to do that for all of them until you get that error message. After that pops up, plug your mouse back in. Go to Details. You'll see property right here. It'll say device description. We're going to change it to hardware IDs. You'll see right here. This is actually what the hardware ID is. So this is VID. So the VID is 258A and the PID is 003. If we go back here, we can see 258A and 0033. So that is my correct mouse. So what we're going to be doing is we're just going to press 1. Now, you might have like 3, for example. Make sure you do the correct one, though. This is very important that you do the correct one because it's a lot of things go into it. So it's very important that you do pick the correct one. So be careful when you're doing this. You're just going to press enter. It'll say the config is updated with those mouse serials, and it will do the actual Arduino spoofing part. But yeah, as I was saying, this does hide COM port and all that other stuff. You should be completely fine to use this for a while. It should not get detected. After that, it's just going to remove all of the logs that it did, all of the files that it made and stuff like that. It's just going to completely remove them from your computer. Once that's done, this is highly recommended, you delete this. So just completely get rid of this folder. Delete that one, and delete these 2 folders. These 3 folders, delete that. And then you'll have main. In main, this is where your config and all of that other stuff and all that other junk will be. It will just be right here. Now, when you open main, it's going to ask you for a... well, first it's going to ask this because it's not a whitelisted program. Just press run anyway. It's going to ask you for a license key. And let me just get my license key real quick. So after you've gotten your license key, make sure your Arduino make sure your Arduino is plugged into your USB host shield right now, by the way. And you can move around and everything. It should feel smooth and perfect. After you've done that, it's going to ask you for your license key after you open the exe. You're just going to paste in your license key and press enter. If it's a correct license key, it will validate it and it will work and it will say connected. Now that it's connected to my mouse, if I had an enemy in Valorant that is purple, our colors is only purple right now, we're going to add yellow and red, but as of right now, we're only using purple. If it sees an enemy that's purple and you use your respected keybind that you put, it will aim towards their head and stuff. Now, I'll go over the config just a little bit. There's going to be more videos on the config later, but as of right now, I'll just explain how everything kind of works. So let me just get into that. Okay, so in here we have our key. So this is obviously just your butter key. It saves it after you paste it once, so you never have to paste it again. If you get a new key or something random happens in our support tickets, we'll tell you to change this. But as of right now, it's fine. VID and PID, what we talked about later, this is your mouse VID and PID. You should never actually have to touch this unless if you get like a newer mouse or whatever and you want to use that one. FOV, so this is how big the how big it's actually capturing. So if this is right now it's 180, so like basically let's say this notepad is the FOV. If we make it like this, it's probably like 180. Anything inside of this notepad will get detected by the color bot. So say if you made this like 20 and 10 or whatever, it would be so small, it could probably be the size of this. And it would only detect enemies in that size. So that's what FOV is. XFOV is sideways, and YFOV is upwards and downwards. So that's what that is. Speed, so this is also like the main feature. This is just the speed of the color bot. I tend to hover around 2 to 3. It's just for my mouse at least, and for my game sensitivity, it will be different for literally everyone. But for me, I hover around 2 to 3 to make the speed, you know, faster, slower, all that other stuff. And you just want to make it look very human. Humanization, what this does is this makes little tiny mistakes inside, like it's like micro mistakes inside of when you hold like say your keybind and it will lock on the enemy. That is for it's basically just to make the anti-cheat doesn't like when you have just a complete linear line to the enemy without no mistakes at all. That's a very big red flag. So the higher this is, the more small minuscule like mistakes you'll see. If you have it on 2.5, you won't notice a damn thing. It does not look any different from a linear line, but the anti-cheat will see it completely different because it will be making little tiny mistakes that are completely random. So that's what that is. Always keep this at least above 1, please. Don't go lower than that. Magnet. So we'll get back to magnet because this is a feature for it goes on with a different feature. I'll show you later. Aiming level. Aiming level is basically the level that your aimbot aims at. So for example, if you have it at 9, for me 9 is head, but monitors and aspect ratios and all that other shit completely fucking throw that out the window, and it changes so much. So you're gonna have to probably mess with this to make it perfect for your aiming level. So 9 is head for me, but for you it could be above their head. Like that's just how weird it is. So you just want to keep on changing this. Higher, so changing this value higher makes your aimbot aim lower, and changing this number lower makes your aimbot aim higher. It's a little bit confusing, but it's just like that. Secondary aiming level. So I forgot to explain this, but if you go into your cheat, you don't even have to be on tabbed onto your cheat. But if you just press period, it will switch to secondary. So basically, if you can kind of understand what this does, is when you switch to secondary, this is body. So when I'm on secondary, it's aiming for body. When I'm on primary, it's aiming for head. So this is body, that's head, body, that's head. You know, just like kind of how it works. Okay, so now we can actually go back into this feature and this feature. So multiply aim. I don't really use this that much because it's not really that needed, especially when you're in higher ranks. You really only see an enemy for like probably 1 second before dying or getting a kill. So I don't really need this, but in low ranks I could understand why. Basically magnet is how many pixels until this factor goes into running, basically. So if magnet's at 20, that means that 20 pixels until your crosshair is near an enemy, and then it will multiply your X and Y speed by this value. So this is to make it so it aims on their head, like it stays on their head once you're on their head. But again, I don't really use it. But like, for example, whenever I'm within 20 pixels of an enemy's head, when I'm holding my aim key, it will multiply this value, so it will multiply 4 by 1.3. And that will make it so it goes faster when I'm near the enemy, just to make it so it really stays on their head. That's what that is. Triggerbot, this is the FOV for the triggerbot, so it's the same thing as this. Trigger aim keys, so we use Microsoft key codes, so let me bring that up real quick. Okay, so this is Microsoft key codes. Um, Basically, it's just like telling you what key you want to bind to what. So right now my aim key, so the thing that activates the aimbot is 2. If we go to Microsoft key codes, we can see 2 is right-click mouse button. Obviously, don't make your aimbot that. That's very suspicious. Don't having really an aiming key. That's kind of funny. But change that to whatever you want. You can change it to the side buttons on your mouse and all that other stuff. So these are the side buttons on your mouse. But like, say if I wanted to make it shift. Say I want to make my aimbot shift. We can see that the key code is 10. So you'd literally just go in here, type 10, Control S, and it would save it. And when you make a change to the config, which I'll do right now, so Control S, as you can see, it reloads the settings. So the settings are automatically applied. So that's what that is. So we'll just put that back to normal, but that's what that is. Triggerbot keys, I don't use Triggerbot just because I don't like it, and it does need needs a big rework, but you won't get banned using it. I added a lot of random stuff. For example, when you see an enemy, this is not really attached to what I'm about to say, but when you see an enemy, it will not shoot that enemy within 500 milliseconds, and the maximum is 800 milliseconds. So after you see an enemy, it will either shoot it minimum 500 milliseconds or maximum 800 milliseconds, and it can be anywhere in between those two numbers, just to make it so it's really random, so the anti-cheat isn't constantly flagging that you're shooting an enemy at the same millisecond every single time, because that's obviously really, really fucking suspicious, because no one's that good, basically. Advanced settings, you will never need to touch these, but very rare cases you might. Lower color and upper color, this is just the colors we use for the enemies. If you have different colors and you really don't want to wait for us to update, to add yellow and red or whatever, you can get an HSV color, because that's what that is, and you can implement your own colors, and you can just do it yourself. Enhanced CPU usage, leave this at 0, do not touch it. Kernel size, so it's really hard to explain what this does, but do not touch it if you don't have a problem with the color bot. If you have a problem with the color bot and you have like an ultra wide monitor and it's like just completely off the enemy, like it's just completely not aiming on the enemy, you might need to mess with this a little bit, but I've run into very, very few people that needed to touch this. Dilating, so it's also kind of hard to explain this one too, but basically, the way that this color bot works is when it sees enemies, it captures all of the color and it puts it into one big blob. And what dilating does is it basically controls how much colors can you merge into one blob. So if I made this 1, every single color would have its own blob, and it would make the aimbot very inaccurate because it would be aiming at their chest, their head, all of that other stuff, just random. So that's what that does. If you have a big issue with aiming in between enemies, which every color bot in the market does, there's no real big fix for it, but if you hate it that much, you can change this to be really low, like probably 3, and it would lower the aiming in between enemies issue, but you're costing performance of the cheat, or sorry, not performance, accuracy of the cheat. It would not be as accurate. And debugging, you don't need to worry about this. This is just for very certain issues when we're in tickets and we need to figure out some stuff. So that's it. That's literally the whole config, and that's whole butter. And you should be good. You can just go into Val, start cheating away. Make sure every time you launch Val, your mouse is in your USB host shield. If it's not, you want to close Val as fast as possible, because that is a very big red flag, having 2 mouses at the same VID and PID. So that's literally it. Hope you guys have a good day, and buy my product. Bye-bye.